Welcome to Hiccups and Hot Flashes, where every hiccup is a hidden gift and every hot flash a power move. We're your hosts. I'm Danny, an ICF somatic and embodiment coach.
I'm Dory, a trauma-informed midlife resiliency coach.
And I'm Kim, a self-sovereignty coach.
We're three coaches, two moms, and one single gal who all love human design and have real conversations about navigating transitions with awareness, resilience, fresh perspectives, and a mission to give voice to the voiceless. Let's get into it. Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Hiccups and Hot Flashes. I'll be your host for this episode. My name is Danny Arsenault, and I just want to check in with my two beautiful co-hosts here. How are you coming in today, ladies?
Lovely, lovely. I'm tired. And so when I'm tired, I get a little silly. So I'm just going to put that out there.
I'm coming in hot.
Coming in hot. All right. So this episode is about what a true yes is in your body and why it matters more than ever in a world that tends to pull us up into our heads. Our culture, I'm sure everybody can feel this, is overworked, stressed, really heady. Our nervous systems are just jacked up. And this also leads to something that I've been seeing in just friends, clients, and things, and it's this decision fatigue. And it seems like a real thing where we just have a lot of different decisions that we're making. And it can get overwhelming, especially if our nervous system is really activated. Throughout the episode, what I'd like to just highlight here is that somatic awareness as a practice that reconnects us to embody our truth, trust ourselves, and come to choice. That's really the bottom line here. So when you think about feeling an embodied yes, Dorian Kim, what are your first associations?
I'm laughing. Okay, I'm laughing because honestly, I am 49 and I'm just now realizing what that actually feels like. Um, I had no idea. I never really felt what I guess that intuitive yes felt like, because I had expectations and everybody's like, oh, I have that gut feeling and I feel it, and because Dory always feels it. I don't. And so I'm thinking, well, I'm not getting it. I don't know what it is. And so once I had it, I was like, oh my God, I had a yes. And what it was just like this warm feeling that was just expanding throughout my body. And it didn't last long, but it was definitely had me going, oh my gosh, this is good. I also know what a no feels like. I know what a hell no feels like. So
Important
Which
distinction.
can sometimes be a yes, right?
not mine.
Oh,
Yeah, not mine. Hindsight. Mine was
yeah.
hindsight that no. But the embodied yes only recently, and like honestly in the past few months.
Hmm. Well, not me. I walked out of the womb knowing what a yes felt like. I'm just kidding. I did not. No, I really
Great.
did.
You see, you're
Um,
going, yes, mom. Yes.
I think I've always had a really strong sense of who I am, but that doesn't mean that I knew what a yes felt like. Um, for me, and it comes in different, like yes, like when you ask the question, like what comes to your mind when you think about an embodied yes? I think of stages of immaturity, when yes felt like yes, but then jumping out of a plane without a parachute, or yes, and barreling over everybody to get to my yes, and those are all stages, like there's stages and ages, right? And so I actually think about like my levels of immaturity of how I learned to get to the yes, because I don't think, um, for me, I don't think that like a yes was something like, what am I trying to say? I think a yes was something that I learned to embody in phases. And, developmentally, it was speaking my mind all the time. We talk about teenagers who right now it's their job to take care of themselves and focus on themselves. And I'm pretty sure I did that as a teenager. And also, like when I think about an embodied yes, I think about when I wasn't embodied and couldn't connect to the yes that I knew I wanted. And there were times when that was devastating to me, to feel like I know that this is, and I'm thinking like when I was a kid or when I was a teenager and thinking, I know that this is something that my soul needs. And it feeling like, there were times when that was devastating to not connect to something that was fulfilling to me in some way. So anyways, those are the thoughts that come to me.
Yeah, I love that because the different phases really matter. And I feel like, okay, what does that feel like? What is that connection? I think some of us don't even know. And in that situation, it's kind of like you're feeling a sense of it, but you're not knowing how to really connect into it. And I don't think that's something we're really taught. We're taught to, we are a neck up society. Like from here up, boom, that's all there is. Oftentimes. And so we're in this place where we're trying to figure it out. And honestly, if you step back and look at the body, I mean, your head is about what, 10% of it? So we've got like 90% left that we can take advantage of. And it's going to be our best ally if we can learn how to connect that. And that's just the thing, that disconnecting ourselves from bodily cues leads to erosion of that self-trust. And it's where our nervous system can then take over. And then we're just in this reactive situation. And or we can also get ourselves trapped into that fight, flight, freeze, people pleasing situation.
Loop.
Yeah, the loop, the crazy,
Yep.
crazy loop, the overthinking, the productivity, the urgency. And these things are rewarded in our culture. And so it often can feel good to get that reward, but at what cost?
Mhm.
So I also notice with, when we're disembodied from those cues, that old like narratives can come in and really root inside of you and then override the present the present moment, the cues that we need to tap into to feel into ourselves and get that embodied decision making system kind of on board.
Mhm.
And fortunately, there's things that we can do that are really easy to start to flex that muscle, really. So it really starts with a feeling. And sometimes people push back on that one. But honestly, if we think about it, we're always chasing a feeling. Like money is a great example. Money really is just energy, but it's an amplifying energy. And when we get it, we get to turn it into whatever we want to amplify, right? If it's our values, if it's, it's the feeling we want. We want vacation because we want the feeling of relaxing and the feeling of decompressing. And we want that space. We don't actually have to change our physical location to do that, which is really cool.
I just wanted to say, because what you were saying at the beginning about what it feels like to be disembodied and where we are rewarded for that. And I loved that. I think some of our listeners are, if I was listening to this podcast, I'd be like, say more. And yet I can tell you're about to move on. So I just wanted to say, we're going to do an episode on that topic that you're just talking about. We will dive deeper into it. Anyways, I just wanted to say that.
Absolutely. I mean, some of these, there's a lot of information that's kind of packed into these kinds of things. And really, I think at this point, we're just opening up the conversations and kind of creating an overview. And I know there's going to be things that people will pick out and will land, and then we can now deepen into those as well. We know that awareness shifts us from reactivity to responsiveness. And I kind of do this loop that's like pause, feel, choose. But before we move into any of that, I want to just kind of define a little bit, like, what is somatic awareness? It's a huge word out there, somatic. And really it's the capacity to sense and feel internally bodily sensations. That's your interoception, your internal world, and then connect to the subtle cues and signals of the body, which is that felt sense that guide presence, choice, and self-knowing. There's emotional awareness that comes into that because emotions will fill us up sometimes and override our sensations. And I would define that as emotions as bodily experiences or sensations. They can be hot, they can be heavy, they can feel like they're rising, they can feel pulsing. There's perceptions that we can put on these experiences and sensations so that we can identify them as they come up. And embodiment is a word that's thrown around a lot too. And embodiment are the changes that are lasting and sustainable because we are feeling and living from our body, not just our head. And that helps us build traction because it's a felt sense that's lived out.
Everything that you were saying, it reminds me of when I was learning Reiki. And I said, you know, I'm not getting that feeling. I'm not feeling that energy. And there was, there was an expectation that I had because of what other people said it feels like, what your body is supposed to feel like. And because I went along with that, because, no one else said anything differently, I automatically thought, well, I'm not getting it. I'm not feeling it. And years later, um, someone said, yeah, they don't feel it. They don't feel it either. But she does Reiki, she does energy work, but she doesn't feel it the way that it's, been told over, I don't know, decades or however long people talk about it. And that's just what I keep thinking about. And so when I was saying that I've just now really felt what a yes feels like, um, I have in human design, I have splenic awareness. So it's very in the moment and it whispers and it's quiet and it's you can miss it basically. And so a lot of times because I wasn't aware of that because I wasn't told, no one was talking to me or I didn't know the questions. I was just like, okay, well, if people are saying this gut feeling, I'm not getting that. Why not? Should I get it? What am I missing? And so I had the emotional awareness. I had the awareness to know that I wasn't getting it, and based on what everybody else says. So I guess that's my thing is just, the expectation around it because of other people, and that's when you would say, okay, what is my body telling me? How is my body talking to me? Because it's not about how Dory's body talks to her that I should get. That's Dory. It's not even your the way you do it. You're emotional. So okay, mine is it makes sense now that I know, but I still have to say, okay, what is what is my body trying to say? And in what ways? And how is it, you know, letting me know what a yes is and what a no is?
Yeah. And do you have specific sensations or anything that comes up? Like, what is your experience of what a yes is?
Um, I've had well, a couple times I've had it where when I was working on something, it was just like my body felt warm, not necessarily tingly, but I could kind of feel the energy spreading um, throughout my body, like arms, shoulders, um, starting in my chest. And it wasn't shocking. It was just very mild and comforting, and gave me like a happy feeling. Um, and I've had yeses where it's just more of my, I guess, intuition going, oh, this is good. Yeah. I'm very delayed with my emotions anyway. When something great happens, I'm like, okay, I say delayed. I'm very balanced. I'm just going, oh, okay, that's good. And honestly, when I was in school, it took me like 2 weeks for me. I was walking across campus and was just like, oh my God. Oh, and I got happy. So very delayed. But I just kind of have this immediate awareness, like in that moment, of what yes or this is good feels like. And my nose, I've I've had a lot of I have one main no that I always remember in hindsight, and that is this shock shiver that goes up my spine. Very forceful, very quick, and it's always a no, hell no, no. And I don't listen to it. And it's cost me lots and lots of money because I said yes to something when my body was clearly saying, girl, don't do that. So I know what my yes is, and I know what my hell no is.
And is it consistent? Is it always the
No,
same? Oh.
no. The hell no is
What is it? When you say is
And
it, do you mean
those sensations that tell you a yes or a no, are they always consistent?
not for me. The hell no is definitely consistent, but the yeses, because I don't always get them because it's not like I I can ask myself questions or anything I'm doing. I've even waited. I'm like, should I do this? What am I feeling? I get nothing. Um, so you know, feeling the yes, I don't always get it. Um, Actually, getting any kind of bodily sensation, I don't always get, and how I receive it, it's not the same for me. It's not consistent.
I
Are
can see how that would be it would take a while to figure out what a yes was in that inconsistency. What's the common thread with all the inconsistency? What's the common thread between all of those that helps you get to that point of, "Oh, this is my yes."
I think because it's more overwhelming. I'm very
Mm.
balanced like emotionally. When all of this chaos and stuff going around, I'm the one that will calm down or calm other people down. It doesn't affect me. And so when things do happen, I'm just like, okay, cool. All right. But and I don't know, maybe that's why it was delayed. I really don't have an answer for that. But now that I've paid attention to it, um, it's just more about paying attention to my body to see what I'm getting. And that's the best way for me to kind of feel it out to see what that consistency is. I don't know.
what about you, Dory? What is your experience? Yes.
Well, I honestly was conditioned out of my yes. So it took me a long time to realize that. And I've been really angry. So I'm actually really excited about this episode because this is one of those, um, it was a find for me, to realize the day that I discovered what a yes felt like for me, I was like, do you know how many times I have felt this, but I was told I was wrong? And do you know how many times I listened to those people and I was really angry? And so that's why I'm really excited about this podcast, because I'm going to guess I'm not the only person on the planet who's experienced that. And I'm going to guess there's going to be some people who, not necessarily like stir up a hornet's nest or anything, but I'm going to guess there's some people who also can relate to, oh my goodness, I have probably felt a yes all of these times. And now I can like, but I had told myself I was wrong because I was told it was wrong. And now I can start holding space for that. And we'll probably get to it. I'll just leave that alone. But for me, what it feels like is, for me, so going back to human design, I'm sacral authority. And what that means is there's a part of my body that more than I should pay attention to more than anything else that says, yes, move in this direction or no. And that yes is connected, and you're probably going to get to this, but that yes is connected to authenticity. And so for me, that authentic piece shows up as it shows up in my abdomen, ironically, like low abdomen. And ironically, I've had 3 C-sections. So super duper interesting there. I've had to really notice. But anyways, um, for me, it feels expansive. It feels like, I, at the risk of sounding really cheesy, I think I won't say what I wanted to say, but I mean, I'm just like, it feels like love moving through my abdomen. You know what I mean? And so that is, that's what it feels like. And when it is not, my abdomen clenches down. Like I feel this contraction and I know like this is, and I know what it feels like also to want it in my heart so bad. Like I want to do this, or I want this experience, or I want to go in this direction. And my abdomen, my sacral area is saying no. And boy, that is a conflict for me. And I've learned to trust. I've learned to trust, but that's a hard one for me. Anyways,
Mhm.
that's human design talk. When it comes to just generally, I also just peace. I think just sitting there and just I feel comfortable in my own skin. Um, yeah, and sometimes it is um, if I do get nervous with a yes, it is because I've consulted my fears first. So whenever I feel that fear, that sense of fear, I will stop and ask, like, where's this coming from? And I can identify, oh, this is a past mindset that's not even mine. Not going to own it anymore. Toss it out. Oh, there it is. There's the alignment. I feel it. So,
So this kind of actually I'll go into what mine feels like because it was an interesting discovery. And just to bring in that human design piece for a moment, my inner authority is an emotional authority. And so that can be really confusing because when emotions are big, like I feel emotions really big, and that it's almost like your first love, right? It's like, oh, it's huge. It's huge. It's the most important thing. And like that's how I feel emotions. They're very intense. And I've made decisions from that place so many times. So many times. And when I started to first do this work, I couldn't feel it in my body either. And I was really frustrated by it. I'm like, why is this so complicated? And why can't I just figure it out? Why is
Mhm.
this so elusive? And really, what it boiled down to for me was that my nervous system was really just on edge all of the time, like chronically stressed. And so I didn't even have a baseline to come from. And so I thought that a yes was this like, oh, charge in me, this big like, oh, excitement. It's like move me forward kind of thing. And it had to feel like that. It had that charge to it. And that a no was this like neutral, calm, sort of uneventful feeling. Turns out I had them mixed up. And so now what I've come to understand is that a yes in my body feels calm. It feels grounded. It feels boring. And it also feels expansive because I have the freedom in my body to breathe. My head isn't spinning and running wild. But then there's this emotional component. And this actually applies to, according to the human design system, about half of us. And it's cyclical. And there's different waves of this emotional stuff, this emotional authority. And mine, I have a couple of them, lucky me. And one of them is this giant wave where I'm cruising along just fine. And all of a sudden I'll be like, boom. like I have no control over it. I'm just
Mhm.
in this state. And before I used to think, I have to get out of this. This isn't productive for me. But what I've come to understand is that in that kind of lower arc, that down spot is a place for me to pull myself back into myself and replenish and recharge and act. It's a really creative space.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's a really creative space, and I that can be like the tortured artist, right? That's where a lot of that emoting comes from, and all those love songs and the paintings and the here's my ear, you know, comes from
Okay,
Thanks,
not
Van.
here's my ear.
real. It's
Not
true. It's
here's my ear.
true. I mean, that's what happens in that, and I think sometimes people get stuck in it, and because there isn't this flat line consistency emotionally, like there's like you're overly emotional or you have some label slapped on you. And just a caveat there, for anybody who feels this kind of thing, I would highly suggest that you uh, keep track of these patterns because more often than not, I have seen people can find a pattern. And then once you have the pattern and that awareness, then you can kind of work with that a little better and give yourself some compassion when you're in that kind of low spot. But then it can also shoot up and be really active and really alive and vibrant. So just having compassion for myself was huge.
I have something I want to add. So I know it's hard for like I hear you saying like I feel really big emotions and I've seen you feel big emotions. It's actually one of my favorite things about you. And but I just wanted to put a plug in for that because I think some people, so for human design, our human design listeners, my conscious sun is 55, which is in the solar plexus, which is the emotion, the emotional solar plexus, but it is undefined. So, and I'm a sacral authority, which means I have this one way of saying, hearing my body say yes, but um, I have, because of most of my energy, the sense, my essence is coming from this emotional place. I also feel emotions really, really big. And I didn't, but it was always off for me. Like, I don't know why this feels out of alignment with me. So I would shut it down. And, I just want to say it has been watching people who have big emotions, who have learned to navigate through them, that have helped me tap into my feelings and how to understand them better. So even though you're navigating through your stuff and other people in my life who have navigated through their stuff sometimes feel like, oh my gosh, why are my emotions so big? I'm like, no, you have no idea who's paying attention. Like I learn, and I would guess that there are other people that are learning, oh, that's what happy feels like. Oh, that's what anger feels like. Oh, okay. Or that's what it looks like, And
Mhm.
so I just wanted to say that I think there's value in your learning for other people who are also learning.
Yeah, I a couple things. You have a sacral authority. I'm saying you, Dora, you have a sacral authority. Danny, you have the emotional. I have the split. My emotional solar plexus is open. I absorb it and amplify your energy, your sacral energy, and Danny, your emotional energy. And so I know good and well that I'm pretty calm. I'm like at a good baseline when I'm by myself. But when I'm around other people, even through Zoom, because everybody you should know, you can still pick up people's energy through television, Zoom, things like that, any kind of interaction where your aura is kind of connecting. But I may get very silly and hyper and, whatever. Um, and so when someone says, why am I so emotional? Why am I overly emotional? And why, all of these things, they may think it's a bad thing, but at the same time, it's like maybe you're amplifying someone else's feelings, even if you're angry. Like, why am I so angry? It's because someone around you that you've just picked up and not only are you feeling their energy, but it's like now you're feeling it more than they are and you need to express it. So you're just like, even if you don't say it and you're just feeling it, that's also something that people should really take, be mindful of. Even if you don't know anything about human design, you don't want to put those terms to it. If you walk into a room and you're fine, and then suddenly you feel either people don't pay attention when they're excited and happy, it's just great, but they feel it more when they're angry or frustrated or sad, those, quote, negative emotions and feelings. But that's when you have to think, okay, is this mine? I was perfectly fine before. Who around me is feeling this? And so, yeah, you do need that emotional awareness. You need that self awareness in order to kind of say, let me, let me back up and see what feeling is mine.
Yeah, that brings
That's
me
all.
to an important point here, and that is through that somatic awareness as well, is asking yourself the question, is this mine? Is this mine to carry? And you can still use that same response in your body to answer that question as well.
I have a story about that.
Ooh, do tell.
So, um, I went to a therapist office one day and I was fine before I walked in, super happy, laughing, just sit down on the couch. And I'm sitting there talking, and slowly I start feeling this sense of sadness and despair. It was like I completely shifted. And so this kind of goes back to being an empath, right? I'm sure there's people who are listening who are like, oh my gosh, like boundary up. But I didn't know how much of an empath I was until this moment. But I'm sitting there and I'm just like, I get asked my first question and I'm answering it. And just my answers are like dropping, like a rock to the bottom of the ocean. I seriously was like, where is this coming from? And finally, I just going back to what Kim was saying, like, is this mine? And so I asked the therapist, what was the conversation that was happening in this seat before I got here? And he just said, a lot of despair and a lot of sadness. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me right now? So immediately I stood up and I was like, all right, let's do this again, and doing the somatic stuff, getting my energy back to where I needed it, getting back to my baseline, and just clearing whatever I needed to out. But that
Mhm.
was a real moment. And it was so stark. And I had witnesses for it. Like he was like, you literally walked into the room and you were fine. I was wondering what had happened in the minute that you sat down to and started talking from the time you walked in to the minute you sat down and started talking. So it was it I'm just here to say like that was a thing for me. It was very, very interesting. So
Yeah, he needs some crystals, some sage, yeah, that space needs cleansing before anyone comes back in.
yeah.
Well, that's something I think we don't think about, right? The energetics of things and the felt sense of things. And this is the same energy that's at play when you walk down the road and you're like, ooh, that I don't want to go over there. It's that
Mhm.
felt sense that kind of pulls you back, right? Or if you're cruising along and you're like, oh, what? Hey, and you sort of like move into that. It's the same thing and it's constantly at play. But I think it's the the deciding factor of it's the awareness. Is are we aware of it or not? And when we are aware of it, it can be our best ally. It can be such a great tool. What's the question I want to ask here? Is there a time that you leaned into and trusted your awareness around what was a yes or a no, and how did that specifically turn out? Is there a specific time where you were really connected to that?
No,
Kim, you're laughing.
I am. That is something that I am constantly working on to not just be aware, but to trust it. That intuitive hit, that splenic hit, that just that instinct. And it's mostly because, as has already been said, we're 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 all in our head. We've always been in our head, and because it's instinctual, at least for me, um, I would have that. Oh, this is what I need to do, and immediately, the brain, my mind would go, "Oh, do this. Oh, here's the answer." And it's such a subtle shift, but it's so quick that my own intuition that's telling me that yes or no, don't do that, child, don't go into that place, stay away from those people, whatever it is, the mind is loud. It takes over. And it really just takes a split second. And so I'm learning to listen to that very first thought and then not just listen, but trust it. So ongoing practice.
Um am I yeah. Okay. So I think about this from a place of when I started to learn to trust myself. And I think like right now, I mean, to answer your question, right now I'm going through it like again. It's kind of like that spiral that you talk about. Like I've been here, but now I'm here with a new level of understanding. And so that's where I'm at. But there is this particular um, question that I get presented to me every time I get to this space. And it's like this, there's this pattern that I've seen in my life. And it is this, um, sorry, I'm trying to keep it very general. um, so there's this pattern that happens in my life, and it is the where I'm choosing authenticity. And for me, I feel so like when I'm being authentically me and I'm really honoring what that means, it feels like it looks so different than everybody else around me. And that makes sense because authenticity is like a fingerprint and it is going to be different. But I've been conditioned, if you will, to be like everybody else. Like in my nervous system was conditioned as a kid to be like everybody else. And so I would question like um coming up against that, oh, this is different than everyone else. I don't know. I don't know if I can sit with this, and as I get older, I realize, oh, this is just a part of being me, and I need to continue moving in this direction. But the pattern that keeps happening is I will start to lean into what is authentic. It takes me to some uh, pathways in my life that have scared me because of what the original experiences caused me to believe about them. And I've had to, but at the same time, I'm like, this keeps happening. I keep walking up to this fork in the road, like about I wouldn't even say like every 5 years. It's like every time I go, I'm done tolerating X, Y, and Z. I'm done putting up with A, B, and C, one, two, three. Um, I get to this place where I'm like, I can keep doing this the way everybody else does it, or I can go down this path, which feels way more authentic to who I am. And and not do this. Like I can go beyond this lesson again. And anyway, so it's really a matter of trusting myself and trusting that this path that looks kind of it's a I haven't been on it before. Um, that I can trust that it's the ground's not gonna fall out from under me. I'm gonna be okay. So yeah, I'm totally there right now. I've been here before, but I'm in this space again with much more resolve. So
Yeah, that kind of brings up the your body's truth versus your mind's story.
yeah.
And often I think through that conditioning and just the way your mind works, our minds work in such a beautiful way. They try to protect us, they base things on past experience. They're super awesome and they're very loud. And what I've noticed is that sensation versus narrative. So, your body's truth is sensation and narrative is your mind's story. There's a difference between how those often feel in the body as well. And for me, like, oh, I know when my mind is taking over because I get to talking really fast and my eyes are moving really quickly. And I'm like, oh, I got all these things figured out. And it's just like, brrr. And I feel a lot of energy up in my head and my shoulders and neck. And that is my mind's story. And if I listen to it, it throws me off track every single time. And I'm like, okay, how do we get the two to be friends?
Good question.
Yeah, how do we get the two to be friends? And actually, how do we know the difference between that? And that, that keeps us in our loop kind of thing. And I love that you brought up authenticity because that I think is that it's that inner knowing and some of the conditioning in the mind's story is we have this need to belong. It's kind of a survival need. So we have this need to belong, but opposing that, we also have this need for uniqueness. And so there's kind of this battle, this push and pull that happens. And I think that's some of the static that we experience inside
That
this,
makes sense.
chatter, that kind of thing. And at least for me, like that can be really alive if I want to move quickly or I want something like right now. I can have a tendency to just like pop up out of my body and follow this narrative. How does that show up for you, either of you?
The popping up or following the narrative.
Just yeah, your the mind story, the narrative.
Oh, yeah, I get frantic. Um, and I can tell like everything, I'm not even connected to my heart. I'm not even aware of the emotions that I'm feeling. I'm literally just up in my head. And I have learned, and it's come like that awareness has come from having conversations with people about emotions and where they feel in my body and what's the sensation and what is that emotion sharing with you and what's that body part holding, and like realizing that there's a lot more, kind of like you were saying at the beginning, there's so much more information to take in than just the ideas. And I think another for me, this is a little outside of the question, but I did want to say a question that I ask myself is this like, when did I interpret this information this way? When did I create the meaning for this? And when I can get clear on that, that's also a really good way of knowing, like, okay, how much do I need to drop down into my body? Am I only consulting my mind, or um, do I need to kind of let these thoughts go and just go and sit with myself for a little while? Put myself in a timeout.
Um, for
Experience.
me, I will say I'm at a point where I can, it's like two people are in my body. I can be fully aware of how my body, the sensations and feelings and what I'm emoting. And then I am also fully aware of what my mind is telling me. And I can choose one or the other. And sometimes what I do, it makes it makes sense to me. If I try to explain it to people, it sounds convoluted. But I because I know that there's this discrepancy, this conundrum, and it's because I know what I feel and I'm aware that this is what I'm supposed to go with. But I'm also aware of what my mind is telling me. And it makes sense. It's very logical. Which makes it harder to, figure out which way to go. And so sometimes I sit up there and have a conversation with my mind. I don't know how, to say it. I can be like, okay, I'm me, talking as me, and I'm having a conversation as if my mind is sitting right in front of me. How some people can say, oh, they talk to their higher self or, their inner child. I will have a conversation with my mind and say, okay, look, we need to do such and such. We need to do X, Y, Z. I'm gonna need you to work with me. I'm not trying to get rid of you. It's like talking to your ego in a sense. I'm not trying to get rid of you. I'm not trying to push you aside. You are very valid. And thank you for, protecting me and wanting to do all of this stuff for me. You're doing your job very well. But also, you're also not, you're trying to do someone else's job. I'm trying to listen to my body. You don't have that authority. That's not your job. So be strategic, analyze, let's review, let's work things out, but stop trying to decide what's best for us because we're a team. And so I have that whole silly conversation, and believe it or not, it actually works because I'll start thinking about stuff and I'm like, oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. And I go, just like it's a car or a pet. Oh my God, look at you. You're so good. You did your job. Hey. Um, and so that's how I kind of work out the story that my mind is telling me and what my body is also telling me, trying to make it work, find that bridge. It's a weird thing, but it works for me.
I just want to say, number one, bravo, Kim. Seriously,
Yeah.
bravo. The amount of healing, this is my opinion, but the amount of healing that someone has to go through emotionally and mentally to get to a place where they can hold those kind of conversations with themselves and to have that level of awareness, that is a very, um, I don't know, I'm not a professional in this sense, like I'm not, but I'm just saying I I recognize from my own experiences the level of healing that you have gone through just to get there. And I just want to say bravo. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's a coveted space.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And I think we're all about the same age here.
Hmm.
50-ish. And
49.
I mean,
Proud of
Yeah,
it.
headed
really,
there. We're
like
headed.
I'm just gonna claim it. Like 50 is fabulous. Like, don't let anybody tell you
Woohoo.
anything different. Like, join the club. It's great here.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think sometimes there's this huge pressure on us to be like, well, we should know all of these things. And why is it taking me till I'm 49 years old to decipher this? There's so much I feel like in our culture that works against us in this way. And we just, again, I'm going to say it again, we have to have deep compassion for ourselves in this process of learning. It's so,
Hmm.
so important.
So one of the psychologists that I study talks about that concept of taking on other people's belief systems, their stories, and those that's referred to as a secondary belief system. So
Hmm.
getting clear on what your belief system is, like really going back to that story piece, like that's, oh, is it your belief system or is it someone else's? And even if it is yours, if you've adopted it, is it yours?
Hmm.
Yes, it's such an important thing. And I feel like that's part of that baseline piece.
Hmm.
That baseline piece. For me as an emotional person, that's been key to understand what my baseline is because it's never flat. It's always kind of dynamic. And I just have to get to I call it the softest place.
Mm.
I get to be in the softest place before I make a decision.
I like that.
Yeah.
No, I can feel that down into my toes. I love that.
Yeah.
It's really important to, you can work to figure out, how to make really aligned decisions. Let me get closer to this. How to make really aligned decisions that work best for you. But unless or until you really know who you are really authentic, it's it's going to be harder, and there's going to be that trial and error. You're going to feel like, oh, I feel it, like I'm really excited, so this is a yes, and it really isn't, because you don't know, or you don't pay attention to this wave, and you're like, but I always, it works out fine. And it may, Danny, you could have made some decision when you felt really excited, and it worked out okay. Was it the smoothest? Was it the best? Maybe not. But or maybe, it didn't work out at all. And you're like, but I thought I was in a good place. And then you may doubt yourself and go, okay, well, I shouldn't have done that. But now that you are aware, you can listen to yourself, and your mind will go, nope, but we know this is good. And you can be like, you know what, chill, just calm down. Give me a minute. And a lot of things that, when everyone wants to make decisions in the moment. You got to decide, if they're selling something, and so people who get really flustered, and they're like, oh, but they want an answer now. What am I going to tell them? Just say, like, I got to sleep on it. Or say, can can you give me until tomorrow? Just give me a little bit. Or you don't even have to give them a deadline, or, say tomorrow. Just give me a little bit. Let me get back to you. And that way it takes the pressure off of you. If you do have to wait some time to really feel it out. And, also, because I know someone, I have a client who is a sacral, has a sacral authority, but she, for most of her life, I'll sleep on it. I'll sleep on it. So she never listened to it. And it's like the truth is right there, but she slept on it. So good or bad, whatever happened, but it's just like, okay, now you have to trust that your truth is in that moment, your gut feeling. So I just want to say that, that inner authority is really saying, yeah, this is who I am. I know what's best for me. And that's your authenticity. Your authority is your authenticity.
Yeah, and I just want to add, because we keep talking about this personal authority, and I know that there are people out there who, and I'm one of them, there are people out there who believe in God, and they believe in, or they believe in a higher source. And I'm not saying that neither one of you do, but they consider that to be the ultimate authority. And so it feels like a contradiction, or uh, 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 there's, what's the word I'm looking for? It feels like a betrayal when it's like, well, I was told that trusting myself is wrong, and I need to trust this other source. And I remember for me one day thinking, but if I can't trust myself, how do I know I can trust this other source? Like, it really still comes back to, can I trust myself? And as I study about self-esteem, because that's one of the things that I do with my coaching, is we talk a lot about the development of self-esteem. And there's two like big components in that pattern, or in the pattern of what it is. And it's being able to trust your mind, which is what we're talking about, but it's also knowing that you are worthy of happiness. And that's the piece that some people miss out on, that they have to give up their happiness in order um, to trust some external authority, right? And so I feel like this is also why it's so important to know your body, to understand, is this really what is good for me? You still have to differentiate from all the things, so that you can trust all the things. That's my thoughts.
I love that you brought that up, Dory. And just to tag on that a little bit, are there any practices in particular that you have to navigate that you'd like to share?
Either of us? Me? Who?
You
Sorry.
specifically, since you
You,
brought this up,
Oh,
this
okay.
you,
um, I practices honestly learning to trust my mind. I had my daughter, I was driving down the street the other day, and I had this instant understanding about a question that I've been having for a very long time. In fact, I should pull the statement out. And I understood, because I've been trying to figure out, like, why do I have a hard time moving forward on things? Like, why? What is it for me? Like, when I have a hard time moving forward on things, why is that happening? And as I'm driving down the road, I have this idea, and I'm like, okay, Jordan, you've got to text me something really quick. And it was just simply, I don't move forward on doing things that come to my mind because I doubt my mind. And it's very, very simple, but it was like this complete understanding of, oh my goodness, because I get in my own way with my doubts that came from other people doubting me. I don't trust the things that come to my mind. And so that was, so it really has been trusting my mind. And there's, your mind is in your, it's here in your, or here in your head, right? But also in your heart and in your gut. It can be a full body experience. So when we talk about our mind, we're also talking about different aspects of our body. So anyways, but it's trusting my mind and determining on what part of that of my body is that coming from. Can I trust it? Is that me? Really, and honestly, learning to differentiate practices, self-confrontation.
Yeah. I want to make a point to say that your mind did its job. You asked a
Mm,
question, it figured it
mm,
out, and it gave you the answer. Your body told you this is correct.
yes, yes.
There you go.
I love that. We'll go ahead. We're gonna have to wrap this up. We could talk all day long. This is so much juice in this. Is there anything that either one of you, Kim or Dory, would like to say to our listeners to wrap this up that's on your heart?
Ooh, don't be afraid to have conversations with yourself. Um, Happy or sad when you're trying to work things out, you don't have to, figure out the best way to do it. Do I light a candle? Do I need a routine? You know, just I sit on my bed and go, okay, I need to just verbalize what's going on, take it out of my head and just put it out there. And maybe I'll ask a question. Maybe I'll ask for a sign or something for an answer, because it's not coming from me. But either way, I talk to myself. It's not weird. You can make it weird, but it's not weird. Um, but yeah, if it's your thing, talk to yourself because you're trying to figure things out and you're trying to know the best decisions to make and to learn how to listen to your body. It's really easy.
Yeah. I don't think that's weird personally. I totally talk to myself all the time. And I get that. I talk myself through things, but I also talk to myself. So I get that. Mine is very similar to what Kim was saying. Trust yourself.
That's hard.
Hmm.
It can be. It's simply said and
Hmm.
challenging sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is like a muscle. It is the
Hmm.
practice. It's in the practice, the confidence, the trust is built through the doing. And I just feel like the more we can lean into that for ourselves, the more aligned choices we can make.
Yep.
Yeah. And your body remembers what is true.
Hmm. Oh, and it is amazing when you like, it feels like coming home. For me, it
Oh,
does. It feels like coming home when I have that, like, right, this is how I do this. Everybody get out of my way. I'm coming through.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I know I love that when it settles in and it just drops in. Like oftentimes I'll get a big energy my face will leak a little bit.
Hmm.
Or a leak.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much for being here in this conversation. I always enjoy my time with you. And thank you to our listeners and watchers out there. And if this was something that resonated with you or you know someone that it might resonate with, please share it. You can like us, share us, all the things. And we will see you again. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. You've been listening to Hiccups and Hot Flashes. We're here for real talk around life's transitions, the messy, the meaningful, and everything in between. If something resonated, be sure to follow the show, leave us a review, and share this episode with someone who's riding their own wave of change. Got a question, comment, or topic you'd love us to explore? Send us an email anytime at hello.hhpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, trust the hiccups, own the hot flashes, and keep showing up for the magic in the middle.